Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of Upstate Blue Shirts Rangers podcast. I am buzzing right now. I am on cloud 9. I am so excited. And we are going to dive into the two games that have occurred since our last recording. It's looking like it's just me tonight. If Nico jumps in, he will jump in, but I haven't heard from him in a little bit, so it sounds like it's just me. With that being said, we're going to get right into the first game of the final little setup here before the bye week. The Minnesota Wild came into Madison Square Garden, and the Wild just don't match up well with the Rangers, so I was a little nervous for this game. But holy shit, the boys came out to play. You had Troche scoring early. Actually, 3 minutes and 56 seconds into the first period. He puts one on the board, assisted by Laffy and Gustafsson. The Rangers really dominated the first period. They outshot. Let me just get into the box score here. It's bad podcasting, I know, I'm sorry. I don't think ESPN gives me a individual period by period box score, which is a little frustrating. Because you had the Rangers out shooting the Wild 28-26 overall, but the Rangers had a terrible second period, so I don't know if that be the case. Well, either way. So we're going to go through whole game stats. I know that they outshot them something like 12-3, 15-4 in the first period. The Wild caught all the way back up in the second period. They really pressured hard, tied the game up, and then the Rangers just decided that that was the end of the competition in the third period. You had Laffy scoring a minute 41 into the third period, which allowed Panarin to keep his streak going alive up to 13 games. Also assisted by Trocheck, who was on a point streak as well. Not quite as many, but I think he's on 3 or 4. Blake Wheeler scores his first as a Ranger, 14:39 into the third period, assist by Will Cooley and Alexis Lafreniere. And then Panarin finishes the deal, seals it with an empty netter, 18:39 into the third period, assisted by Trocheck and Trouba. Final score of that game was 4-1. Major statistic takeaways. Outshot the Minnesota Wild 28-26, out-hit the Minnesota Wild 22-18, and they won 58.7% of their face-offs. So if you guys remember anything about the Rangers over the last, decade, it's that they are a terrible, terrible team when it came to face-offs. They could just never win a face-off when it came down to it. This year, not that team. They're hovering around 52% on the year. And you got, Foligno was 100% in the face-off dot. You got, not Foligno, Bonino. You got Trocheck 61.5%, Gaudreau 63.5%. Bonino was 100% in his face-offs. Zibanejad's 80% in his face-offs. I mean, you love to see it. Ice time very evenly spread across the board. The only person with less than 15 minutes was the only group with less than 15 minutes was the fourth line, Wheeler, VC, and Pitlick. They got 12 minutes. Everybody else between 16 and 18. And then the leader in the clubhouse in ice time was, as always, Jacob Trouba, 25-12, Keandre Miller with 25-03, Lindgren with 21-20, Gustafsson with 20. So Lav's doing a good job of kind of dispersing assignments across the board. The Chris Kreider with the unfortunate -1 on the day, which it's just bad timing on his part. I mean that his line's cooking. They moved Wheeler up to the first line, which was like crazy. He didn't play there for long. It was kind of a pick your fight kind of thing. It's the third period. He didn't play much with Zibby and Krides. I believe they moved Kako back up in the third period, which explains his jump in ice time. But I mean, obviously Wheeler scored a goal, so it did something for him. I don't know if maybe it gave him a better idea of the pace of play the Rangers have, or if it gave him more confidence. Just the fact that he was put in the first line, I'm not really sure what it was, but either way, he showed up. It's always got to be good to put your first one in the net. I know that he has gone up to 27 games without scoring a goal to start a season before, so I'm sure that he's sweating bullets, just not wanting to have that kind of start with a new franchise in a really demanding market, considering he came from Winnipeg, who like borderline doesn't care about their team at all. So it's hit and miss on that scenario. Overall, though, Rangers look really good. They possessed the puck well, lots of offensive zone time. They had, even when they weren't generating shots necessarily, they were sustaining possessions. The the puck transitions, the getting out of the D zone, I mean, everything just looked good. They did not look like the team that lost in a shootout a couple of weeks ago to the same team. They looked like a team that was ready to, we'll say, put the kibosh on any narrative that they were not able to handle the Wild and that they did not match up well to the Wild. So, excuse me again. Sorry. I've been freaking out and yelling and all that fun stuff. So my throat's a little meh, you know? And that makes sense. Is it Friday? Thursday. Okay, that's what I thought it was. Must be on the wrong week. I'm going through NHL.com, and sometimes their schedules are a little wonky. Because ESPN doesn't seem to have in-depth statistics, which, shocker, ESPN's dropped the ball in every plausible way when it comes to the overalls coverage of the NHL. So, yeah, they outblocked them 15. The Rangers outblocked the Wild 15-14, but the big thing, Rangers 1-for-1 on the power play. Minnesota Wild 0-for-1 on the power play. So, if we're looking at league stats now, the Rangers had the fifth or sixth best power play at current, or sorry, not power play, penalty kill. And then they currently have the second best power play at 35.7%, which is 3 points behind the New Jersey Devils, who are sitting at 38.5%. Now, I don't know if these are up to date as of tonight. They are not. What? That doesn't make sense. Never mind. This says since 1977 to 78, but there's only 13 games on here, so that's where I was. It's whatever. So, given that they are 10-2-1 in this statistical update, I would wager that they may. They should stay. They got a 4 percentage point lead on the Canucks, so and a 4.5 point percentage lead on the Tampa Bay Lightning. So my guess is that they stay. They went 0-for-3 tonight, so that's a little bit of a dinger. But their penalty kill. Also, I think they went 2-for-2. I can't remember how, because it got a little janky there tonight. But moving on to tonight, the Rangers just finished up with the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are slowly moving up my list of jankiest teams that exist. They're just, I don't know, maybe it's because they're young and they're trying to prove themselves. Maybe it's because they're in a shit town playing for a shit team and they're just trying to figure out something to entertain themselves. I don't know the situation. All I know is the 2 times that we've played them, it's been a shit show. It gets chippy. People do things they shouldn't do. We lost Lindgren tonight on a play that, well, we'll get there when we get there, I guess. Because first things we got to talk about is the fact that the Rangers came out flat for the first time in probably 5 games, probably since the last. No, they actually didn't come out slow against Minnesota. They came out fine against Minnesota. They just didn't look like they had it tonight. And Columbus came ready to. They were going for David versus Goliath. They were giant killers. They come right out. 3.5 minutes into the game, put a puck in the net. Justin Danforth rips it bar down, top corner over Johnny Quick. Chris Kreider answers close to the end of the period with like a minute and a half left. It was a beautiful, beautiful dish by Eric Gustafsson. Blake Wheeler gets his second point as a Ranger, or sorry, third point. Ties the game into the second period. Then we thought things were going to go well because the Rangers had Alexis Lafreniere tickle the twine, put one past Merzlikins, and Panarin got to keep his point streak alive because he's sitting at now 14 games and has tied the great Rod Gilbert as the longest point streak to start a season. So good for him. But that put the Rangers up 2-1, and Adam Fantilli, Sean Curley scored back-to-back within 18 seconds of one another. Fantilli was just a straight-up beat. He just came around from the point, hit the slot area, and just absolute rocket of a wrister right over Quickie's pad, or not his pad, his glove over his shoulder and in. And then Curley was a turnover, just a sloppy play. I don't think Quick could react well enough because it was a turnover and then it was a rebound that was way out there, and then Curley was there. The defense didn't come fast enough on the check. He scored, ran to the net. It was a mess of a play. But then later on in the period, if you didn't watch the game, Will Cooley shoots a little kind of an annoying shot. It was a steep angle. There wasn't much to it, but Merzlikins played it poorly, and it slid past his pad into the net. I mean, it slid past his pad into the net. Now, it was stuck under his skate, and he knew that. The referee couldn't necessarily see that because he had it pinned up. So it was like the situation where the goalies like pinned themselves up against the side bar, and he was pinned there, holding it down. He put his glove down, pretending like that he was trying to hold everything together. And the ref eventually blew it dead. But Cooley immediately reacted as if he had scored, and 2 Rangers pointed into the net to show that the goal was that the puck was indeed past the red line. Multiple replays, and you could look this up yourself, but multiple replays showed from the angle where Cooley shot the puck, you could see movement about skate level past the pad because Merzlikins is wearing white pads. You can see it moving around past the standing bar in the net. I mean, it's in the goal. So, I mean, you could see it there. And then there was a reverse angle over the top where you could see the puck in the net, and then you could see where his skate was in reference to the puck, and then a solid 2 to 3 seconds before the referee blew the whistle for a frozen puck. And then Merzlikins pulls the puck out of the goal for the next face-off. The referees in this example reviewed this play for probably 5 to 6 minutes. I mean, it was an exhaustively long replay process. I don't really know. I mean, I'm convinced that Toronto and their, whatever they call their headquarters there, the something room, but whatever, in communication, I just don't know where the communication would occur where they would say this this is wave dead. This was blown dead. I mean, there was an angle where the referee is in the angle and he does not blow the play dead before the puck is in the goal. So I mean, it's just unbelievable. And they, like I said, they reviewed it for 6 minutes, come out, say that the puck was frozen. The Garden loses their friggin' minds. They boo at that point, and then at the end of the period, it is a relentless chorus of boos to the officiating. They missed a bunch of calls tonight, in my opinion. It was not a very well refereed game. They let Columbus get chippy. The Rangers would retaliate, and things would get a little. It didn't feel like it was being refereed evenly. For instance, in the second period as well, Jacob Trouba had a nice clean hit through the chest. I can't remember who he hit, but somebody immediately skated over to him to kind of address the situation. And in the process, Trouba, goes to defend himself and kind of goes to give him a shove, and his hand slips up and it knocks his head. So they throw, and then they kind of like go jar at each other. They only throw Trouba into the box. He got a 2-minute penalty for roughing. They didn't assess any penalty to the Columbus guy that was hitting him right back. I mean, it was just, and he was the one that initiated the entire thing. Like, you could have given him an instigator penalty if you wanted to. Like, he stopped where he was going and skated over to Trouba to initiate that encounter. So I don't know. But that wasn't called. Obviously, the replay was overturned. But I mean, as a Rangers fan, the replays always seem to go against us. If it's a goal that we think is a no goal, it's going to get called a goal. If it's a goal that we need, it's going to get called a no goal. There was another situation in the third period, which was a bloodbath. The Rangers outshot in the third period. I believe it was 15-4, 15-6. It was something. They just absolutely put the pedal to the metal and put all the pressure onto Columbus. Now, it took them all of the third period to tie the game up because Alexis scored his second goal of the night with 11 seconds left at 19:49 in the third period. So I mean, wow. But in that period, there was the replay issue that occurred was a boarding penalty that knocked Lindgren out of the game. He was immediately stunned and taken to the locker room. They called a 5-minute major boarding penalty on the ice along with a 2-minute. I don't know. I can't remember what the 2-minute penalty was. But that was the initial call on the ice. After review, they lowered it to a minor boarding 2-minute penalty. And it just felt like it was another dagger to the soul because, I mean, Lindgren was in a defenseless position. He was off balance. It was pretty apparent. And then he was just run through. And then to be told, that's just, your run-of-the-mill normal penalty. I just didn't feel that way. And that could be me being a homer. That could be me upset because it's 2 consecutive replays that go against the Rangers, which seem to always go against the Rangers. Either way, the Rangers had their opportunity to go on the power play. They eventually, at a minute, I think it was a minute, or no, it was like 45 seconds or 50 seconds into that power play, they got a second penalty and had over a minute of 3-on-5 hockey and did not manage to score. It was pretty ridiculous. They just didn't have it going. I don't know. They didn't even really get good chances. Like, it felt like Merzlikins had clean views of the shots all night, that he was in the shooting lanes ready to go. Nobody was in his face. There wasn't any of those classic Ranger tip goals. It was all just clean, wristers over people, things like that. The like I said, they just came out. They just came out flat today, and they're lucky to get away with the win. Now, the Alexi obviously scores with 11 seconds left. They go into overtime. Overtime was a dud. The Rangers definitely had the majority of the pressure. They they had more shots. They had more possession, more opportunities, more high chance opportunities. And then in the shootout, it came down to our boy Alexis Lafreniere again. A beautiful backhand. I mean, just an absolute snipe over Merzlinken's glove, bar down, beautiful shot, and then it was up to Johnny Quick to close the door, and he certainly did that. It was a little stressful because it got over his shoulder. It ended up landing over the crossbar where the old school goalies used to put their water bottles. The referee was immediately waving it off once it landed. So the hold your breath moment, but overall, the Rangers get the win. Johnny Quick moves to 4-0-2 as the New York Rangers backup goalie, and the Rangers move into their bye week a record of 11-2-1, which is good enough for first place in the Metropolitan Division ahead of the Carolina Hurricanes by 5 points. With having a game in hand on Carolina. The only team ahead of them in the Eastern Conference right now is the Boston Bruins at 11-1-2 at 24 points. So the overtimes matter. You got to get those wins, but if you can get the extra point, you got to get the extra point because it's going to be a bloodbath. If you do not know, the standings going into Thanksgiving are accurate to like within 80% of where they will be at the end of the year. So if you're in a playoff spot, you're most likely to finish in a playoff spot. The numbers will shift, but for the most part, the teams in the playoffs are going to be the teams in the playoffs when Thanksgiving hits. It's a very weird thing. It doesn't happen in any other league, but historically speaking, over the past like 30 years, wherever the standings are at Thanksgiving, that's where they're going to be come April. So the Rangers are in a great position. They have the next 5 days off. It was just, I guess it ends up just being a weird quirk in their schedule. John Giannone was saying that it's not a bye week, it's just a quirk in their schedule, that their actual bye week doesn't come until the end of January. And then for those of you who don't know, you're like, oh, bye week, that's a football thing. In the NHL, there is a week where teams will play on Saturday and then not play again until the following Saturday, and it's a week to just relax and take the week off. So they call that the bye week. This is just a scheduling issue. I don't really know how it occurred or why it occurred, but I'll take it. I mean, with Adam Fox out, most likely an MCL sprain, which from the date of injury, the quickest recovery time on that is 4 weeks. The ideal recovery time on that is 6 weeks. The Rangers are still buzzing when he's eligible to come back against the Red Wings, I believe, November 29th. I don't see a reason to bring him back in. If he doesn't need to come back in, there's no reason to bring him back in. So November 29th against the Detroit Red Wings is the first point in which Adam Fox can come back. Now, that's his 4-week point. If he were to go to 6 weeks, that would put him the middle of December. I think the ideal time to bring him back is Tuesday, December 12th against Toronto. Because once we finish out that Detroit game, we've got Nashville, San Jose, Ottawa, Washington, Kings, Toronto. Maybe you could bring him back against the Kings, because the Kings in the Leafs are going to be the only two teams that should be any sort of challenge. Nashville, bottom feeder. San Jose literally gave up 10 goals 2 games in a row. Ottawa, last in the East. Washington, dumpster team. They're hanging out in the bottom as well. The Kings are buzzing right now. Cam Talbot's looking like like he's walking on water out there. The boys are going on Anze Kopitar's and Ageless Wonder. And then Toronto has Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Ilya Sorokin. Or no. Is he? I never know. Is it Sorokin for him? Or I think it's Samsonov that they have. they have a Russian goalie. Sorokin might be with the Islanders, and Samsonov, I believe, is with the Leafs, but don't quote me on it. I'm having a brain fart right now. It's 10:50 at night. I've had a long day. But yeah, so if it's me, if the Rangers get through, if they take a point and New Jersey, 2 points, if they end up, because they have New Jersey, Dallas, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Boston, Buffalo before we play Detroit. If they come out of that 6-game stretch with 4 wins, or out of 12 points, they have 8, 9, 10, I don't see any reason to rush him back. We're going to be fine. We got a 5-point lead. That's fine. No one's going to catch us on that. So it's imperative to keep them healthy. Obviously, we've been doing that with Igor. Igor remains day to day with soreness. It's not, but Johnny Quick's been playing so well. Louis Domingue took the torch against Minnesota. There's no reason to rush him back. Hedl is probably in the same boat. I think he's been gone for 10 days now. So I think the Rangers are going to take their time with their injured players as they continue to win games, which is a good thing. It shows good depth. With that being said, we do play in Jersey Saturday after our week off. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because we are going to have a week off. The boys should be, refreshed, ready to go, ready to roll. But I don't know if that gets them out of rhythm, if it gets them out of sync with one another. It's one of those things where a week off can be a blessing or a week off can be a curse. I'm hoping it's the blessing. I'm hoping we come out just absolutely just skates on fire, ready to take names, because they've had a week off. And looking at Jersey's schedule, they have this week. They have to go to Winnipeg, go to Pittsburgh, and then they've got us. So Winnipeg is not going to be fun. Pittsburgh is really nothing anymore. They're not a crazy good team. And then they've got us. And they've had losses this year to Washington. They've had losses to St. Louis. They've had losses to Arizona. They've actually lost to the Capitals twice. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't line up well for that matchup. And they've also had goaltending issues. They only had one game where they haven't given up 3 goals. 2 games where they haven't given up 3 goals. So it should be a feast. It should be a good matchup, and hopefully we get the wheels spinning and ready to roll and get our wits about us before we head into Dallas, because that's a really good team. That's a hard place to play, and I would really like to come out of that double gauntlet there with 4 points. If I can get 3, I'd be happy. Minimum 2. Have to win one of them. You got to beat Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and then you're ready for Boston come Thanksgiving weekend, and that's going to be a hell of a matchup, because it'll most likely be for first place in the Eastern Conference. So with all that being said, I'm gonna cut the podcast. A little short, sweet guy here, less than a half an hour. There will be no episode dropping this Thursday because there's just simply nothing going on. The Rangers have the week off, so there's nothing to really cover. If you did not know, by the way, the Hartford coach Knobloch is now the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. They hired him today, so he will be greatly missed because he's an excellent talent producer. He's really good with young players and honing their craft. So hopefully the new coach does just as well at developing that talent, because the Rangers have a ton of young talent ready to go. You got Osman down there. You've got Harper, Louis Dominguez down there. There's the Dylan Garand's down there. You've got just a ton of young, good talent, and they need to be developed properly so that way the Rangers can continue to do what they're doing now for the foreseeable future and become like a dominant franchise, like a Pittsburgh, like a Boston, that's just good every year. And that starts in the AHL. So with that being said, guys, thank you very much for listening in. I will catch you next Monday after the Rangers are back in action and after hopefully a win in New Jersey. Have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you then.